Welcome to the Deep Dive Library, your go-to podcast for real talks on entrepreneurship, finance, and personal growth. No fluff, just bold insights to help you grow, build, and lead. Let's dive in. Today, we're taking a deep dive into some really crucial questions you've asked us. Questions hitting right at the heart of starting and funding a business here in South Africa.
Yeah, especially when you're dealing with limited funds or maybe no credit history at all. The big question is always, can it even be done?
Exactly. So we'll explore how you might start with little or, even no money. We'll look at finding funding without loans.
And where to find free support, what skills you can maybe monetize right away.
Right. And tackle that practical side too, registering your business, what it actually costs. Seems like a lot of confusion there.
We've pulled together quite a stack of info for this. Practical stuff from guides like Shopify and Side Hustle SA, official details from BizPortal, the NYDA.
Plus some foundational thinking from books like Rework and even some personal finance reality checks from Manage Your Money, like a fucking grown-up.
Yeah, we're trying to pull the key insights specifically for you, operating in the South African context.
Okay, let's jump right in. The elephant in the room for so many. Starting a business with little to no money. It sounds almost impossible, doesn't it?
It does, but the sources really suggest it's not. A core idea, something you see in Rework, for example, is about using constraints to your advantage.
Constraints? How so?
Well, when you have basically zero capital, you have to be creative. You're forced into simplicity. And critically, you tend to focus on service-based businesses.
Because your main asset isn't stuff, it's you.
Exactly. It's your skill, your time, your effort, not expensive equipment or a load of inventory right off the bat.
Okay, so leveraging what you've already got.
Precisely. Think about that story of Brian Malachi from Dinoco Automation. I think it was in a Sage article. He started with just R200.
200 Rand. Seriously, that's like nothing. How did he even manage that?
Well, he had the skills, right, from working in security. And he spotted a clear gap in the market affordable automation, specifically in townships.
Okay, so he saw a need.
Yeah, and instead of waiting around for funding, he just started. Set up meetings, pitched his service, and crucially, he asked clients for deposits before starting the work.
Okay, so he used their money.
He used those deposits to buy the materials needed just for that job, then moved on to the next.
Wow. That's incredibly resourceful. Talk about bootstrapping. It really highlights resilience, too.
Absolutely. It's a perfect example of what Rework calls focusing on the epicenter, the absolute core of what you do before worrying about all the extras. It just proves, with a clear problem and some grit, you can start small.
Okay, so thinking practically then, what specific types of service or skill-based businesses do these sources like Shopify or Side Hustle SA point to? Things you can start cheap.
Well, they list quite a few things that use existing skills or stuff that's easy to learn, like house sitting or pet sitting.
Yeah.
Tutoring, if you're good at a subject.
Yeah. Offering personal assistant services, maybe? Simple things, too, like dog walking or car washing. You're basically just selling your time and your willingness to do the work.
Right. What about people who are maybe more creative or like working with their hands?
Yeah, you can monetize those, too, often with minimal cost. Baking from home, if you've got the basics in your kitchen already. Furniture restoring or upcycling, if you've got a knack for it, and maybe a few basic tools. Makeup artistry, if you build a portfolio, maybe start with a basic kit.
Photography, maybe.
Yeah.
Even with just a phone to start.
Exactly. Start basic, offer simple sessions, maybe sell some stock photos online. Then, as you earn, you invest in better gear, low barrier to entry.
And digital skills. That seems huge now.
Oh, definitely. Huge potential there, often with low startup costs if you have the skill or can learn it. Things like transcribing, converting audio to text. Side Hustle SA mentioned potential earnings like up to R300 an hour.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, shows the potential, right? Also, social media management, data entry, bookkeeping, maybe website development if you've got coding skills, virtual event planning. Often just need a laptop and internet.
It really does sound like the first step is looking inwards. What skills do I have? What knowledge?
Yeah.
And then looking outwards. What needs are there in my community or online?
That's exactly it. And these lists just give you ideas, sparks. So you've started lean. Now, how do you fund growth without getting into traditional loans?
Yeah, this is a big one, especially for younger people, students, maybe no credit history. Avoiding debt just feels safer sometimes.
It often is. And Rework is pretty strong on this. They actually call outside money Plan Z.
Plan Z, really?
Yeah, they argue that bringing in investors, especially early on, can kind of derail you, pushes you towards a quick exit or scaling too fast, maybe before the business is solid, and you lose control.
So that bootstrapping approach, like Brian Malachi did, reinvesting your own revenue, that's the ideal.
Ideally, yes. Using customer deposits, upfront payments, plowing profits back in, that organic growth keeps you in the driver's seat. Focus on the customer.
But realistically, growth might eventually need more capital than R200 can generate, right?
Absolutely. And if loans are off the table, then grants become a really important option to look into.
Okay, so what's a key grant program here in South Africa people should know about?
Well, the NYDA grant program is a major one, specifically aimed at young entrepreneurs. It offers both money, the grant itself, and also non-financial support, which can be just as valuable.
And it helps at different stages.
Yeah, they structure it for businesses that are just an idea, what they call intentional, or have maybe tested it a bit, promising, or are already up and running new.
Right. And what kind of business costs can that NYDA grant actually cover?
According to the NYDA info, it can help with buying assets, like equipment. It can provide bridging finance that's short-term cash to tide you over until expected income arrives. Help with shop renovations, provide working capital.
Okay, seems pretty broad. What are the definite no-nos? What won't it cover?
They're quite clear. It won't give you partial funding towards, say, a deposit for a bank loan. Nothing illegal, obviously. No gambling, no pyramid schemes.
Makes sense.
No seed capital just for general R&D or patent registration, although they do make an exception for prototyping mobile apps, interestingly.
Oh, okay.
And importantly, they do run credit checks. And if you're under debt administration, that's an exclusion. So it's not just free money, there's a process.
Right. Still need to qualify. You mentioned non-financial support, too. What does that involve?
Yeah, and this is often huge. Things like mentorship, business consultancy services, help getting market linkages connecting you with potential customers or partners, and business management training.
Mentorship comes up a lot, doesn't it?
It really does. The SME SA article highlighted it too. Having a mentor, someone who's been through it, can just make such a massive difference in navigating the challenges. It's invaluable.
And circling back again, for a lot of these skill-based businesses we talked about, the main resource isn't really cash, is it? It's the skill itself or the drive to learn it, which mentorship or training can provide.
Exactly right. Sometimes the best resources aren't about money at all. Okay, let's switch gears to something very practical. Getting your business registered in South Africa. Big question. Can you do it for free?
Yeah, I hear that one a lot. Is it possible?
Well, based on the BizPortal guide we looked at, the short answer for registering a formal company like a Pty Ltd is no, not completely free.
Okay, bummer. So what are the costs if you use a platform like BizPortal?
Right. So to register a private company, a Pty Ltd, or a nonprofit, an NPC, without reserving a name first, that's R125.
R125, okay. And if you do want to reserve a specific name?
That's an extra step, and it costs R50 to apply for that name reservation.
What if the name you want isn't available or gets rejected?
You can still go ahead and register the company without a name for that R125. Then later on, you can apply to reserve a name for another R50. Once it's approved, you apply for a name change, and apparently there's no extra cost for that change itself.
So minimum R125, maybe up to R175 if you sort the name out separately later.
Got it.
What do you need to have ready before you even log on to BizPortal?
Okay, essentials. Your South African ID, obviously. You need a payment method that works online and has that 3D secure check activated, the extra security step.
Right, yeah.
If you're trying to reserve a name, have a list ready, maybe up to 4 options. And you need details for all the directors, their SAID numbers, copies of their ID documents for verification, and marriage certificates, if applicable. They mention needing specific details like the ID issue date, the marriage date as per Home Affairs, and the spouse's ID if married. Seems quite specific for verification.
Okay. Any other small print there?
Yeah, one thing they highlighted, which sounds minor but could trip people up, each director needs their own unique cell phone number and email address. CIPC sends official stuff to those contacts.
Ah, good tip if you're starting with a partner or a friend.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got all that ready. What are the basic steps on the site itself?
Seems pretty straightforward from the guide. Log in using your SAID. Select company registration. Choose the type, usually Pty Ltd or NPC on that platform.
Okay.
Enter the director details using their ID numbers. Provide company specifics, financial year end, shares details, the physical address, and then choose your name option. Use an already approved name, apply for a new one right there, or just register without a name for now.
Can you sort out other necessary registrations there too, like for employees?
Yeah, BizPortal seems designed to be a bit of a hub for that. You can also register for UIF and the compensation fund. These are crucial if you have employees working, I think it's 24 hours a month or more.
Right, for unemployment insurance and injury cover.
Exactly. And you can also apply for BBBEE certificates. The guide mentions they're free for exempted micro enterprises. That's businesses with turnover up to R10 million.
Okay. And what about the business bank account? That's usually the next logical step.
They seem to facilitate that too. BizPortal gives you an option to start the process right there. They even show a comparison image with different banks. Looks like ABSA, FNB, Mercantile, which is PTech now, Nedbank, Sasfin, Standard Bank.
Oh, handy. Does it show fees?
Yeah, it apparently shows the different monthly fees ranging somewhere between R50 and R80, roughly. Helps you compare quickly.
Definitely useful.
Sure.
Are there common glitches or problems people run into during the registration payment?
The guide flags a few payment things that can cause delays, like not paying within 24 hours of getting the notice.
Yeah.
Paying via EFT from certain banks might take longer to clear, or need extra steps. Using the wrong reference number, classic mistake.
Yeah, done that before.
Or like submitting multiple applications but only paying for one, or applying over a weekend because those only get processed on the Monday. Just things to be aware of to avoid holdups.
That's really practical stuff.
Okay.
So
yeah.
shifting from the nuts and bolts back to the mindset, especially when you're starting lean, what kind of thinking helps?
Well, several sources touch on this. Rework, again, really champions this idea that constraints are actually good for you. Less money, fewer resources, it forces simplicity, focus, innovation. They say it's better to build a kick-ass half than a half-ass whole.
Focus on that core, the epicenter you mentioned.
Exactly. Don't spread yourself too thin trying to do everything right away. And Rework also advises, don't get obsessed with your competitors.
Oh, why not?
Because if you're always trying to be the next big thing someone else already is, you're basically letting them set the agenda. Focus on playing your own game, creating unique value.
Makes sense. And how you talk about your business, communication.
Crucial. Rework pushes for really clear, simple, human language. Ditch the corporate buzzwords. Write like you talk. Maybe even picture writing to one specific person you know. Be authentic.
Keep it real.
Pretty much. But while we focus on the positive aspects, it's also true, as highlighted in that SME essay article, that entrepreneurs face real challenges. Work-life balance is tough. Managing growth gets complex. It's not all smooth sailing.
No, definitely not. But that theme of resilience, like we saw with Brian Malachi starting with just R200, that seems absolutely fundamental, doesn't it?
It absolutely is. You will hit obstacles. Resilience is what gets you through them.
Okay, before we wrap this deep dive, there's an important note in the sources about managing your personal finances. Seems foundational, even when starting a business.
It really is. That book, Manage Your Money Like a Fucking Grown-Up by Sam, makes this point very, very clearly.
And they had a pretty memorable way of explaining compound interest, didn't they?
Yeah. The vampire analogy. Imagine a vampire puts, say, R200 in a bank 200 years ago, gets 8% interest, and just leaves it because, well, vampires live forever, right?
Right.
That tiny R200, just compounding over 2 centuries, would apparently grow into billions. It's a wild way to show the incredible power of time when you're saving or investing.
Wow, okay, that definitely paints a picture. So the lesson is start early, even if it's small amounts, for your personal savings too.
Yes. The longer you give compound interest to work its magic, the better off you'll be. And a really practical first step they suggest, just figure out where your money is actually going.
Know thyself financially.
Exactly. Using a tracking app like 22/7 was mentioned can be a great starting point. Just get a clear picture of your spending habits. That's step 1 to better financial health.
It really feels like getting your personal finances in order lays the groundwork for managing business finance well too.
They absolutely feed into each other. Good habits are good habits.
Okay, wow. That was quite the deep dive into starting and funding your business journey, specifically here in South Africa. We've gone from zero-cost ideas using skills to funding options like grants and customer payments.
Navigated the actual costs and steps for business registration via BizPortal, touched on that crucial entrepreneurial mindset.
Right, and even the importance of personal finance. It's about seeing constraints as an advantage, focusing on your core value, being resourceful like Brian Malachi.
Knowing the practical steps, accessing support, and building on a solid personal financial foundation.
So here's a provocative thought for you listening. Think about the power of starting small, maybe with just a skill you have.
Or that symbolic R200. Combine it with resilience and a real focus on solving one specific problem for one specific group of people. What unique problem exists right there in your community, or maybe online, that you are uniquely equipped to solve? If you found value here but haven't subscribed yet, why wait? Every subscriber fuels this channel to keep delivering the real, game-changing content you need. Hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe. NNW. Don't miss out on the next episode that could change everything for you.